Hey, welcome to MBTV. My name is Trey, and today I'll be talking about Enneagram 5. As you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt. This is in honor of the INTP Type 5s. Stereotypically, Type 5s in general don't care a lot about fashion. They may appreciate it, but they enjoy being able to throw things on without worrying how it looks, especially the Type 5 INTPs. So first, we're going to be talking about the core type and some misconceptions many have with this type. Then we'll talk about the 5-wing 4 and the 5-wing 6 and how they differ. After that, we'll talk about each MBTI type as a Type 5. Let's get started. The core Type 5 on the Enneagram is in the thinking triad of the Enneagram. This means that the Type 5 is dealing with fear, along with the Type 6 and 7. The childhood wound of the Type 5 was intrusive parents or some form of pressure removing them from the external world. The decision was essentially, I can't do anything or someone will be there watching me. I might as well just stay in my head. Interestingly enough, this type deals with fear by overthinking. Now, personally, as a 5, I have always said that there is no such thing as overthinking. However, I must admit that when you have more things to think about, it gets difficult to finish up all those ideas. They are striving for competence, intellectual competence, specifically. The Type 5, similar to the 8 and 2, feel that they are above the world. This is because the Type 5 is a mental giant, while the Type 8 is power-driven and the 2 is focused on helping others and believes they are above others in that regard. Any of these three types should make sure they are humble in their ability, but just because someone is prideful of their intelligence or lack thereof doesn't mean that they are a Type 5. Type 5s often have an emotional disconnect. You won't see this as much in an SX 5, but it's because they don't want anyone in their space. Their space is valuable to them. Remember, their childhood wound is usually intrusive parents. There will naturally be a disconnect, even for the 5-wing 4. The 5-wing 4 is more likely to feel a connection and want that connection, but still for some unknown reason, be held back from that connection. The 5-wing 6 is going to be much more distant than the 5-wing 4 will ever be. A common misconception we have with the Type 5 is that all Type 5s are intelligent. Type 5 should not be equated with intelligence. Type 5s are just focused on their inner world of thought. A healthy Type 5 will be focused on learning by reading things in the outside world, like books for example. This will allow them to use their ability to come up with some amazing perspectives, considering they are almost always in this mode of thought. An unhealthy Type 5 will be so focused on their inner world that they may not take in much information from the outside world. While they are highly perceptive individuals, in an unhealthy state they are so far in their own heads that not much from the outside world comes in. This inhibits their growth as they need to take in more information from the outside world to develop their thoughts. Let's jump into the differences between 5-wing 4 and 5-wing 6. Something that should be recognized is that the Type 4 extends into the heart triad in the Enneagram, while the 6 is in the head triad. The Type 6 is focused on security. Type 6 will often adopt systems to ensure stability and security. So 5-wing 6 will be very good with organizing systems. The Type 5 is focused on fully processing things. So as you can imagine, a 5-wing 6 will be focused on creating full systems to improve their lives. Systems focused on security and making sure that they are doing okay. It's what they want. Type 4 is about feeling significant, creating an identity for themselves. The SX Type 5 will resemble Type 4 most times, but the 5-wing 4 will be much more emotional. It's connected to the heart. Lots of times people say that the 5-wing 4 is more likely to make logical leaps. This isn't necessarily true. The 5-wing 6 is going to be much more studious than the 5-wing 4 most likely, but the 5-wing 4 won't make logical leaps unless it comes to personal problems. Their emotions are more involved and the personal side takes some control of the logic. So now we're going to jump into the MBTI types as a core Type 5. Any Type 5 is going to be curious, wanting to know the whys and hows of life to serve as comfort of being prepared. But depending on the functions, we'll be interested in different things. As always, we will start with dominant, extroverted thinking Type 5s. Extroverted thinking types are focused on practicality. If we took a look at the Type 8 ENTJ, we will find someone who can take very little information and run with it. But with the Type 5 ENTJ, it will be more about utilizing the entire system, more in depth, which will also take from some of their time. ESTJs are typically very good with logistics, so the Type 5 ESTJ will be reminiscent of Spock. I'm not saying Spock is ESTJ or a Type 5. Let's be honest though, it's pretty likely. I'm just saying that type 5 would resemble the way Spock knew the whole system, all the rules and regulations of the corporation. So with a dominant TI user, a core type 5 is very common. Introverted thinking and Enneagram 5 are largely associated with each other. The reason for this is that the world of thought is a constant for a type 5. A dominant TI user is constantly refining their logic. Something must be logically consistent with all the other logical data in the dominant TI user's head. These types are exactly how you may picture a type 5. The TI makes these types very focused on systems. They are always improving their systems and current understanding. The INTP type 5 will be the quiet, secluded, minimalist genius, while the ISTP type 5 will be infinitely curious as to the mechanics of the objects and how each piece of the machine plays a part in the bigger picture of that machine. A dominant extroverted feeling type will most likely do lots of studying in subjects about people and learning models that will help them with their work. They will feel a disconnect with people that most ENFJs and ESFJs don't usually feel. However, they will still care for people and maintaining external value-oriented consistency. The type 5 dominant extroverted feeling users are going to have an intellectual and curious understanding of how they are supposed to maintain harmony. The ENFJ is going to be more intellectual and more focused on the patterns of people to support their extroverted feeling agenda. They may come across as an INFJ, but if you study the way the ENFJs use their functions, it becomes much easier to draw the line. The ESFJ is going to be much more focused on societal procedures to use for maintaining harmony. The difference is that the ESFJ will be adopting already existing sciences and occasionally improving on them, while the ENFJ is going to be using much more of their own sciences and understandings. A dominant introverted feeling core type 5 will either collect human data to aid them in their human-oriented decision making, or they will have a very interesting introverted feeling system that could be easily mistaken for introverted thinking, filled with logical data instead of human data. This is actually unhealthy because the human data you use will not be well developed, but you will use that for decision making instead of the well developed logical data you have been focused on as a type 5. It would be ideal to focus on collecting human data, even if this includes models and social aids. This would improve your decision-making process. An INFP will be more likely to be a type 5 because of the connections an INFP can draw between seemingly unconnected subjects. This INFP will be very quick on their feet because of that extrovert intuition. However, occasionally they may choose personal data versus unbiased data. Like the 5-wing 4, they may occasionally choose to emphasize some data because it aligns with what they want, but it does not remove their interesting ability to have FIs that's similar to the way that a TI system would be, and those two coexisting together. While type 5 ISFP will be much more focused on things that can be easily observed. Their data will be more of their own science versus science and solutions that already exist. The FI and SE data they collect will give them NI insight to patterns of people around them. The NI of an ISFP is more likely to be well developed because of that yearning to fulfill their curiosity and understanding. A dominant extrovert intuitive is improving on an existing SI archetype, attempting to explore the possibilities with the ultimate underlying goal of creating the perfect SI archetype. For the dominant extrovert intuitive user, it is going to be more focused on improving either their TI or FI system. The ENFP is going to ask logical questions for human data. The extrovert intuitive perceptions they use will be much more logical, eventually building a logical system of emotion. The ENTP, however, will be very good at creating an introverted thinking system. For a type 5 ENTP, their focus will actually be targeted towards that SI archetype. They want completion. All of the data excites them, but they want to eventually finish and have a conclusion. They may even integrate to type 8 afterwards and carry out what they have learned. The dominant introvert intuitive users are going to be using TE or FE as a tool for their insights. A type 5 INTJ and INFJ are both going to be focused on the unseen patterns and understanding, extremely attracted to information or patterns that may or may not exist. For the INFJ, these ideas must be validated by their introverted thinking system, which is actually used for creating harmony in between people. And for the INTJ, it must be validated by their introverted feeling system. The INFJ is going to be more focused on human relationships, however, they will not be as humanistically focused as most INFJs would be. Actually, I identify as an INFJ. This is a recent conclusion I had come to if you haven't heard about it, but I identify with the less emotional side of the INFJ type 5. I'm not focused as much on people, but still very focused. I focus more on the theory and understanding of models I have to assist and help people, but I don't spend a lot of time doing it. It is important to recognize that the INTJ will eventually mobilize these ideas once they believe they fuse together their understanding. While the INFJ does mobilize, it does not look like it in our society. It just looks like they are friendly and have a good social circle. For the extroverted sensing type 5s, they will spend lots of time using their auxiliary function. They will most likely spend time engaging and then afterwards organize that data with either TI or FI, probably to process what they have experienced. They may go to a club and begin to reflect while they are in the club. The much better side I could see is an ESTP or ESFP that analyzes things with their extroverted sensing and tries assigning a conclusion to their observations. For example, they may see someone do something and do their best to figure out the other person's reasoning. This will give the ESPs great use of their NI, and for the ESTP, they will be using their TI really well too. The dominant introverted sensing types will spend lots and lots of time understanding the way things operate in our real world. They will research DIYs and how-tos. They'll be traditional scientists. They will be very studious in the traditional sense. They will be very good in school and maybe thinking about everything they learned as they go throughout their day. The ISFJ will find methods of maintaining harmony, while the ISTJ will be using the information to accomplish a goal. However, the ISTJ and ISFJ are actually using their judging functions, extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking, to build their SI understanding. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this video, you should check out the other videos listed in our outro. Also, MBTV has a mailing list, so if you want to keep up with the competitions we have going on in the forums, new video series coming in the future, and more, go to our website down below and sign up for the mailing list on the homepage. Once again, I'm Trey from MBTV, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao. With an image. Thing is, INFJs don't actually act all the same way. They make totally different decisions. A lot of people are behavior-based and will look at somebody and say, that person is INFJ because they just did that. And I think that that's been one of the biggest conflicts when telling people I prefer INFJ, is that they actually tell me, oh no, you did this, you've done that, you're not INFJ. It's not about that. Why do I do that? The reason